Right. Oh, so hello, everybody. We are joined today by the lovely Ancel in Puerto Rico. We are Puerto Rico, aren't we? No, we're in Costa Rica. Costa Rica, because we've just been talking about ports. And we are with myself, Karen, from Wise Women Weekdays. And today we're joined by doggies and nature and chickens and all sorts, whatever goes, which is what I love. Because we're going to be talking about chocolate and cacao, and Ancel has been here 22 years? 20 years in Puerto Viejo, Talamanca in Costa Rica, and I came here the other week. Girls, boys, what are they looking at then? Just oh, people. Oh,
Django. No, that's not Django. That's Theo.
Theo, Django. So I love this because we are literally in the jungle, we're in nature, and Ancel has 4 dogs. Here comes the other one. I might just turn so you can see what's going on here in the camera. So
I don't see anything.
no, it could just be the rain. We'll just come
Maybe a dog across the road. Actually.
something that's just, it's nature, isn't it? Girls, girls and boys, because we can't hear what's going on.
Summer.
Good girl. So I probably won't cut this out because I love it, because it is what happens, isn't it? I've done videos where babies are crying and all sorts of stuff. Hey, it's just whether people can hear. So what we came to do, I wanted to do, is talk to you about what you do here, because the name of your business is chocolate is medicine. I think that's what you call yourself, isn't it? And having come to the chocolate class last week, I was actually blown away. And I came with my son and his daughter, my daughter-in-love, I call her, not daughter-in-law, they haven't tied the knot. But we learned so much, and that's when I said, can I come back to see you, Ancel, and let's just talk about what you do, and cacao, and the importance of it, because we all absolutely love chocolate. We love chocolate, and especially the chocolate here. So do you want to just say a little bit about how you got here, first of all?
Sure. So I came. I thought I was coming to Puerto Rico when I first came. I didn't know anything about.
You nearly did it, didn't you?
I didn't know anything about the geography of Central America, embarrassingly enough. And I was living in California. I was living in the States. I'm a teacher by trade, and I got kicked out of the States because I didn't get my green card.
Oh.
And that's another story. And and I came down to Costa Rica to work, and I ended up working being a kindergarten teacher in a little hippie commune on the other side, on the Pacific side. And I was living in an abandoned cacao orchard, and I fell in love with the trees. I'm from just outside Glasgow originally, and it's windy in Scotland, and so the trees are all bent over, and the cacao is all bent over, and I felt a kinship to the trees.
Cacao here, not the cacao in Scotland, because there's no
there's
cacao
no
in Glasgow.
No, there is in the botanical garden in the greenhouse.
In the greenhouse, so it has a bit of. Oh look, I love it. I'm being loved by the dogs. I love it. So you came here, and you've not left.
No, I've not left. I fell in love with the cacao, and I've been working with it ever since. I'm doing other things. I do other things too, but
This is your passion.
it's one of my passions. Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about the name of the business. I mean, chocolate is medicine. Why?
Well, she is.
She is. I mean, there you go. I love it. She's a wise woman.
Yes,
She's a wise woman.
Cacao has a grandmother energy, and so she's from the Amazon. She was brought north by indigenous people who brought her as a medicine. Every part of every plant is medicinal, because the plants have to be able to defend themselves against the world, insects, animals, viruses, bacteria, fungus, everything that we have to defend ourselves against, stress. The plants have to as well, and so each plant has its own beautiful concoction of energies and chemicals that together make it medicinal. And so with the cacao, people have been using cacao as medicine for thousands of years. We think that the relationship between people and chocolate goes back about 10,000 years.
And and when you say medicine, in what way is it medicinal? Is it healing you from a condition and various conditions?
Yeah.
Like what?
So cacao, so there's the cacao tree and then there's chocolate.
Yeah.
And in the UK we're more familiar with chocolate, not so much the trees. So the trees have their own medicine. They have a really beautiful medicine. And there's many different components in the trees, but chocolate itself, it's one of the best antioxidants we can eat. Super high in antioxidants. It has a class of chemicals called terpenoids that are responsible for the flavor and the smell of chocolate that are really great for our heart. They're really neuroprotective too. So chocolate is a great preventative medicine. Great preventative medicine. 100 grams a day. No, sorry, that's not true. 100 grams a week of chocolate is enough as a preventive
Not a
medicine.
day?
No, not
Damn.
a day. 100 grams a day would not put you to the edge, I think.
Right, okay. But when you're talking about this, we're not talking about the big brands, are we? We're talking about raw chocolate.
No, we don't. No, raw chocolate is a bit of a misnomer because all chocolate has gone through a fermentation process, and fermenting something essentially kills it, transforms it. Fermentation is super interesting. It's like an alchemical process that happens. It's a death rebirth process, but technically it's not raw. And also, for me, I started making chocolate that wasn't roasted because we have a big raw community here in this area. And so there's some raw foodists that don't accept fermentation as raw and some that do. So, because raw would imply that it's alive, and as a seed, once you make chocolate out of it, it's not going to be a tree.
Right,
And
okay.
So
it's not alive.
it's not alive. So the percentage of chocolate is the most important thing, I think. So when we're eating dark chocolate, if we're eating something like a 70%, it has a lot of sugar in it. So the missing number in the percentage is sugar. So 70% chocolate is 30% sugar. It's a lot of sugar. I think that's more sugar than Coca-Cola. It's a lot of sugar.
Right, yeah.
And 72 is the number where the negatives from the sugar are outweighed by benefits from the cacao.
Right.
And so 72% and higher. If you can check all the boxes, the organic, the fair trade, the Rainforest Alliance, all that stuff, but I think all of those labels are expensive. It costs $10,000 a year to have an organic certification.
Wow.
Most of the world's cacao farmers are indigenous people, or they're very poor. Cacao is a subsistence crop, it's not a wealthy crop.
In Costa Rica? Puerto Rico? Everywhere, worldwide. Okay.
Yeah, worldwide. And so most farmers are never ever going to go for organic certification because it's too expensive. It's prohibitively expensive. The Nestle, other big companies, big chocolate companies, pay, most of the world's chocolate comes out of West Africa, and the people are really poor. So a lot of the big companies will pay the farm for however much cacao it can produce in a day, and it's very, very little. Cacao is suffering from, climate change is hitting cacao pretty hard, and the price of cacao has gone up because there's less rain and we need rain for the chocolate, for the cacao trees. And so the prices got more, but still the people who are growing cacao aren't making a very good living from it, and so the certifications don't really play into it. So my advice for people is always to eat the chocolate that you like, because chocolate, she has this beautiful grandmother energy and she's absorbent, and so she takes on whatever is around her. If you leave a bar of chocolate in the fridge, it's going to smell like the fridge, taste like the fridge. Here, the trees will take up any minerals that are in the soil, good or bad, they'll take them up. And the energy, when we're making the chocolate, it has to be pretty good.
Yeah.
In order because that's the energy that's going to go into the chocolate. So if you're eating a chocolate because you should, or because it's good for you, and you're not enjoying it, then you're eating that energy. And so I think the best chocolate is the chocolate that you love.
That you love. But also you made the point, like with the sugar content, it has to be a certain, less sugar to make it to make it medicinal.
Yeah.
You can't, if you're just having Cadbury's cream eggs or something like that, you're going to get ill. Sweetie, just sit down a minute, darling. But can I just also, because you mentioned about the fermenting process, which I found fascinating, because when we were at the class last week, we went into the fermenting bowl, dish, or whatever it was, And when we opened it, I mean, I was a bit girly because you all said, oh, maggots and things, and cockroaches and worms and stuff like that. Now that is it's nature, isn't it? And then you got your hands in there, and my son got his hands in there. But what I also loved is when you said women only do this fermenting, and then you started to talk about the essence of women. And just tell me about that, because I thought, oh my God, this is amazing. Tell me about that.
So women have always traditionally fermented, and that's here with cacao, but it's everywhere too. And the reason for it is, well, here the cacao has a big origin story that most of the indigenous groups in Central America share, that she was a young girl that was turned into a fruit. But if you look at sculptures or paintings of cacao, she's an old lady. And she's covered in breasts, and the breast of the cacao pods. So she's abundant.
Covered in breasts?
Yeah.
Not just all over that?
All over.
Okay.
And then she's basically a pile of breasts with a head on the top, and then a couple of breasts coming out the head. But the breasts are the cacao pods. And so, until recently, without a mother's milk, we wouldn't survive, or a mother's milk, somebody's milk.
Yeah. No, wet nurses in days gone by. Yeah.
That was one of my first ambitions, to be a wet nurse.
Was it really? What to add that to your CV? Can you imagine? Why not?
Lovely.
It is lovely. It is actually, isn't it? Because what you're doing, gosh, we'll come back to that one. That's definitely, I've got to find a wet nurse and do an interview. Don't know if they exist anymore.
I had this whole idea for homeless women.
That's a brilliant idea. It's better than, what is it, Farley's or whatever it's called, that's powdered stuff.
Garbage.
Well, what a great idea. Anybody out there, get in touch. Great idea.
So she's covered in breast, so it's inappropriate here for the men to ferment because they're touching the fruit of the young girl or the breast of the old lady. But what's actually true is, that's true as well, but what's true is that our skin is different. And so women and men have completely different yeast and bacteria on our skins because we have babies. And so we have
different very what? Bacteria? Yeast and bacteria. Right, okay.
And so traditionally, all over the world, women are the ones that fermented because it turns out better. In Europe, fermentation was super important. Here, everything ferments. It ferments really easily because there's so much yeast and bacteria in the air. But in Northern Europe, fermentation allowed us to stay in one place because we're not growing food in the winter, so we had to move. But fermentation allowed us to nest, allowed us to stop. And in the old religion, long before Christianity raised its head, the temple was a two-story building in the middle of the community, and the ritual happened on the top floor, and on the bottom floor is where the fermentation happened, where the bread and the alcohol was produced. And so it was it's integral part of the community and an integral part of the religion, and it was a goddess-based religion.
Wow.
And so this ability of women to ferment, and fermentation is death and rebirth, and when we're in our cycle, that's what was happening in our bodies every month. We're sloughing off the lining of our womb, and we're growing it back again. And so we go through this death and birth cycle. Wow. So as is our bread and our wine and our cheese and our cacao and to a lesser extent our coffee too, and our tea.
I find it so fascinating, and you say it so eloquently. It's normal. Yeah, but until we're told this, we don't know this. And also, so you're saying the essence of the women when their hands are going into into the fermentation process, and also is it only women can pick the pods?
Well, here it depends on how high the pods are. If the pods are high up. Okay,
then get the bloke on the ladder.
Yeah, he gets up the tree.
Archangel, did you call him? Oh, bless him. Oh, okay, so you give him that,
No, that's what his mum called him.
Oh, really? Yeah. Archangel?
Yeah.
That's his actual name? This is your partner, your husband?
No, it's one of
your guys that work here. That's his real name, Archangel?
Yeah, he lives over there. That's his dog.
Oh, wow. Well, he's got wings, so I was going to say he has to do that job, doesn't he? That's amazing. But there is a male influence in fermenting, in regrowing the cacao, isn't there? There's a little boy thing that comes along to Menson, which we don't like.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, nice. Yeah, but the girl does it too.
Oh, it's not just the girls. I thought it was just the boys.
No, it's not just the boys. So the reason that the chocolate is, cacao is she's a moon tree. She grows in the shade. so she is, she's, so much, what are you doing there?
Say hi to the camera.
These pups are, these girls are sisters. They're they're just over a year old.
They're gorgeous, and they're both Rottweilers. That's a Rottweiler,
Yes,
is it? And that one.
and they're both the siblings too, but her dad is different. Her
Okay.
dad's a shepherd.
Okay.
Yeah. So
The
cacao
digress.
is a shea tree. She grows in the forest. She doesn't want to be up in the sun, so she likes to be in community. She's loves community, and she likes to. Don't you knock that camera over?
Or the
Knock
coffee.
over anything. Good girl. Yes, nice.
Well done.
So she grows in the shade.
And this bit.
Yeah, and she's flowers are tiny and they open at night, and so they don't have a smell. So they're pollinated by something that likes being in the shade, that's more present at night and likes damp, dark places. And that something is a mosquito.
Mosquitoes.
Yeah,
So we've got to
mosquitoes.
stop doing that.
So mosquitoes are incredibly important pollinators. Really important. They're hugely important. Anytime you're on holiday or when you're at home and you're getting bit, it's a good opportunity to look around and see what mosquitoes are actually eating. The male mosquito can't bite us. He lives entirely on sugar. The female lives on sugar too, but she can't make babies on sugar. And so she needs protein for babies. She needs blood for protein for babies. So these very, 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 very clever idiots who are trying to eradicate mosquitoes are eradicating an important part of pollination. And there's a lot of talk about wildflower varieties dropping off, or problems with agriculture as well, because the bee numbers are dropping because of the pesticides.
I was just going to say about the bees, massive pollinators. I mean, if we had no bees, would we have all this? I don't know. No mosquitoes. So I've got to try and love the mosquitoes a little bit. I react to mosquito bites, not so much since I've been here, which is quite interesting, but sometimes I really react to them. Is that again because of what I'm eating, or is it my blood type?
It can be both.
Right.
It can be both. I mean, when you react, it's your body's reaction to a perceived threat. And so, it can be either what you're eating, which is more attractive to the mosquitoes, or it's more inflammatory, what you're eating as well,
Right,
so
okay.
you're going to have a bigger response.
Because I'm wondering, like sugar, if you're eating too much sugar, could that have an effect?
Yeah. I eat a lot of sugar.
Right.
But
Okay.
I don't react. I mean, I've lived here. Also, my body has got used to the mosquitoes here, so my body is like, oh yeah,
you've
this is
adapted.
happening all the
Yeah,
time.
bored of you.
Yeah.
Fresh blood. But I was having dinner with a lady last night, an Austrian lady, and she's eating loads and loads of garlic. Talk about mosquitoes, and she's not being bitten by them. She said because she thinks she's eating garlic, vampires. So I'm wondering if that has anything.
Yeah, it could. It could well do.
Interesting. So moving on, all these little things just come from cacao. It's just fascinating. What's the difference, between cacao, cocoa, and cocoa? Nothing. They're all the same names, but one's to have more stuff put in, like cocoa.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, there shouldn't be any difference. The CACAO is the way that it's spelled in Spanish. From the English, they just moved the O and the A.
That's what I've got confused about. Yeah, because I was talking about Ugandan, cacao, and my friend over there, he has moved the O and the A, and I get a bit confused. But it is the same. It's the same thing. Now, the other thing, which I found really interesting, was because all this new age world that things change, don't they? We talk about hippie communes and that sound bath seems to be taken over. And the big thing now is cacao ceremonies. It's reached England because my friends are saying we're going to do a cacao ceremony, and it's lovely, and you have to receive the cup like this and do all this stuff. What's all that about then? 'Cause you have told me, that's why I think it's so interesting. So.
Okay, so cacao ceremony, cacao is really, really important. Where she didn't grow in Central America, she was used as currency. And so you got paid in cacao beans. So she was pretty important. Where she did grow, she was social currency. So in the same way that we might give each other a box of roses, for Valentine's Day or our birthday, then people would give each other cacao beans or chocolate as a gift. Or it was a gift, but it was actually way more than that. It was a blessing. And so for example, if you were getting married, you would exchange 5 cacao beans for 5 cacao beans that was your promise to each other.
Wow.
There was these little things called God pots where you would put and it wasn't just one god here, it was many gods, and many spirits of the forest too, everything. It was a very animistic, lots of gods. Yeah. And so you would have a god pot, and you would put a cacao bean in for every blessing you asked for, you wanted to receive. It was typical for you to put in a cacao bean to represent each of your organs. So there'd be a cacao bean for your lungs, and a cacao bean for your pancreas, and a cacao bean for your stomach, so that the gods would take a little bit of the cacao bean and give you the blessing of protection for those organs. And so that's pretty big.
Yeah, it's massive, yeah.
If somebody died, people would bring cacao beans. If somebody was born, we gave out cacao beans. Let's see, if we were in a business meeting, instead of shaking hands, we would drink cacao, and that would be our agreement. Right. So cacao was present at every single important moment of a person's life, and it was breakfast, right. and it was drunk during the day as well. And so she was ceremony herself. There wasn't a ceremony without cacao. And so the idea of having a ceremony for cacao is an unusual idea, because she was much bigger and much more important than that. Right. And so cacao ceremonies, the way that they're done now is it was kind of created by a man from the U.S. who lived in Guatemala. He died about this time last year. Okay. He was an old hippie guy, old psychologist, and he created modern day cacao ceremonies. And so in a modern day cacao ceremony, now people have added on their own little bits and pieces. But for me, it's an opportunity for, I don't like the word ceremony so much, because for ceremony, for me, it means something that some authority is running for me. Okay. And I don't really want that to happen. So
I like that. It's more of a ritual, perhaps?
Yeah, perhaps a ritual or I like celebration. Yeah, I like cacao celebration instead of, there's, so cacao, every single thing is spirit. Every single thing has spirit. And so I think that you can do ritual with it. It used to be that way. Yeah, sure. It used to be that way. Every time, there was a guy called Carmichael, a long time, in the 1700s I think, who went into Scotland, north into Scotland, into the islands and the highlands, and he wrote down all the superstitions and the rituals of the people. And every time you picked up a spoon, it was a blessing. Every time you stirred your tea in a certain way, because it was bringing in spirit or protecting you from spirit, from negative spirits. Yeah. And so we've lost that ritualistic daily life. And so bringing the cacao into, I think you can do it with anything. And one of the things about modern cacao ceremonies is that they're not traditional. And so you can do it anyway. I have a friend in the States that does cacao and clay. So they drink cacao and then they get a handful of clay and they create something out of that experience of them in the cacao. I have another friend that does cacao and dance, another friend that does cacao and watercolors or art.
So they're making it their own, so they're still respecting her, which is brilliant. And I guess when you're talking about rituals and ceremonies, in Japan they have the Japanese tea ceremony where they turn the cup this way and that, and so I guess it's the same sort of thing, isn't it? But with tea, not cacao. I don't know.
There's a lot of different ceremonies because there's so many different people working with cacao. There's Central America is fairly large. I mean, cacao grows 20 degrees north and 20 degrees south of the equator, so that takes a lot of countries and islands in the Americas and the Caribbean, and everybody had their own practice. And also at that time, people didn't really travel. And so what is actually the case here is that we have Kawita, which is probably 10 miles that way, and we have Manzanillo, which is probably 10 miles that way. So in that 20 miles, this area was settled by Jamaicans. They came by boat, there was no roads. And so the people in Kawita have completely different uses for the same plants that the people in Puerto Viejo or the people in Manzanillo had. And so, that's a beautiful symbol, and that was 200 years ago, that's a beautiful symbol of how life was before, that you grew up in a village, you had your family in that village. It was the unusual person that went out of the village. You had to go out and bring someone back, or go out and not come back. But you stayed in your own village, and so the ritual and the ceremony and the belief system and the superstitions that happened in that village was very, very unique. The Bribri are also kind of similar in that there's not one Bribri language. There are many, many dialects of the Bribri, depending on what village you're from, because it was pretty insular. The people don't really mix very much. And so before we were all like that. And so having a ritual I think the time has passed for organized religion, at least in the West, and I think that it's up to us to find our own way into spirit and to form our own relationship. And so, if somebody wanted to take up a relationship with cacao and use cacao as part of their practice, then I would really, recommend that they reach into themselves. Cacao she's a fantastic teacher, and one of the things that she teaches is how to trust our own intuition. And so going with what we feel and what we intuit, it doesn't matter if we mess up, because we're making our own ritual, we're making our own tradition.
It's a lesson, isn't it, basically? It's
She's
lessons.
great. Yeah, it's a lesson. And so doing a cacao, sitting cacao with your practice, she's a beautiful medicine, and she can be a strong medicine, and she can be subtle, or she can be quite thick. And so it depends on how much you take. I would never, if I'm taking cacao, I take about 17 grams. Any more than that is too much for me.
And in what way? You feel a bit sick or dizzy, or
I feel
queasy?
lightheaded, and I feel too much openness in my throat, and I feel like I've got too much energy, but I don't have any physical energy.
Okay.
So she's a
Hard to
stimulant,
manage.
but she's a muscle relaxant too.
So talking about like she and being a plant medicine, can I just mention ayahuasca?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, because I mean I've had several experiences with ayahuasca, and some of them have been really scary, and some of them have been, oh my God, it's like that enlightened moment. You get it. But it's obviously a choice if you want to do that. But the taste of it, the first time you have it, you probably, yeah. So the first time you take it, you think, oh, it's a bit chocolatey, and then the second time, and to me, it's just horrible. It's really horrible. But there is that connection, isn't there, with the cacao and the ayahuasca?
That's interesting to say. Cacao is a tree, a shade tree. Ayahuasca is a vine, and so they're both in the Amazon. They go together.
Yeah.
They go in the same regions, but they have really different energy. The energy of a vine is trying to get as far away from its roots as it possibly can. And once you get up and on top and it's sun and it dominates. Cacao is a tree, and she comes back again and again and again in the same place. One of the guys the other day said, yeah, this is hard to, he was talking about something that was difficult to get rid of, and he said, it's like killing a cacao. It's impossible to do. And so, which I never heard before.
Yeah,
but it was cool.
yeah.
So the energy of the cacao is this more subtle, more moon-based, more quiet, more in it for the long haul sort of thing, gentle. And the energy of ayahuasca is kind of up and out and in your face and much more fierce. I consider them both grandmothers. But there's one that I would go to if I was in trouble, and the other one I would avoid if I was in trouble.
Okay, yeah, work that one out. And the other thing I was going to ask about, because you're saying it's poor people that grow cacao, and I think that's all over the world. Mm-hmm. I remember when I went to Uganda, and I took some chocolate that was from the UK and gave it as gifts. Even though they grow it in Uganda, they don't have access to bars of chocolate. It's all exported, isn't it? Which seems really wrong to me. It doesn't seem right. I think people now are creating places where they can grow it, and I mean, because you're making it here, aren't you, in small bars? What can you say about that, if you can say anything? I mean, why is it so expensive? Why does it all get exported? What's happening? It just doesn't seem fair.
Yeah. So where cacao grows, that's a huge question.
Sorry,
it's a great question. So cacao grows in hot, humid places, and people don't tend to want to holiday in hot, humid places, but they don't necessarily want to live there. And when cacao first went to Europe, it went as money, and you were drinking money. And so it really, really appealed to royalty, and then nobility, and then the church, and then gradually everybody drank. Everybody could drink cacao. There was chocolate houses everywhere. Long before there was coffee or tea houses, there was chocolate houses. And so it was a status symbol initially, and then it became a thing. And then if you think about in the UK, the Cadburys in Bourneville, they were pretty philanthropic families. They created communities where the cacao served a purpose to create idealized experiences for people. There was healthcare, there was education, there was a better standard of living, there was running water, there was all those things. And so cacao was almost like a tool for that. It was a business model for that. And then Hershey's did that in the States as well. It must have been somebody in Europe that did that too. I just don't know. So the relationship with cacao in Europe is really different. It was a status symbol, and then it was a way to elevate people. In the places where cacao grows, there isn't this, in temperate, this is my big theory. In temperate zones we have winter, and so people in temperate zones have to plan ahead. People in the tropics, there's no winter, and so we don't have to plan ahead. We're going to be able to find food every single day of the year, and so there's no impetus for us to save or to think about long term, because it's abundant every day. It's very simple. But in the north, it's not.
Right.
And so capitalism couldn't happen here naturally. But capitalism is like, okay, I'm going to starve if I don't have stuff, so I need stuff.
Great answer, yeah.
And so the difference between people in the north, cacao in the north and cacao in the south is in the south, or where it grows, there's not that need to, there's not that much need to make money.
Yeah. But then do they have the same desire that we seem to have in the West to have chocolate the way we have chocolate? Or
no, I don't think so. Because there is a desire for everybody to be, okay, so I've lived here on the farm for 17 years. And when I first moved here, the roads weren't paved, nobody had a phone, everybody went everywhere with their dogs, nobody had a car, nobody had glass in their houses. So it was very different. And when phones came in, people started wanting stuff.
they had access to information?
Yeah. And so they wanted to have a TV. I know people who have TVs but no running water in their houses. So the TV gets priority. Fridges have been here for maybe the last 30 years. And so now the indigenous population here they're running really fast towards Western mentality. And it used to be the people who came here, the outsiders that came here, were running really fast towards a more simple mentality.
Yeah.
And so there's been a cross.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I think maybe the generation after this generation, in the indigenous community, will start seeing a value in their own ways, and have less desire to copy what Westerners do.
Yeah, it will revert back, which is I think what a lot of people are trying to do in the West. Well, you see it here, but I think sometimes I was having a chat with a friend yesterday, Paul English, and we were saying, my experience of now coming to Costa Rica, the tourism is changing it, and that's worldwide, and it's not a good thing. And there's a lovely lady here who works at the Pirate Cafe or Bar or something, down at the Chino Beach, is it? But she's done a course on regenerative tourism, not sustainable. She said because tourism isn't sustainable, it has to be regenerated, and there are children that growing up in villages here that don't want to speak Spanish, or if they've got a local language, they want to speak English. They want to become westernized, and that is kind of detrimental. You can't stop it because people want to improve, but then when you've got that improved, if it is improving, that lifestyle, you think, hang on, what have I given up? The community, because we're all sitting at home watching the box, aren't we, or on our phones and stuff like that. And yeah, a lot of people are trying to escape that. But I think in the meantime, changing what you're coming here for. That's what I see when I go to places. I think, like Thailand, I was in Thailand last year, and I was really sad because when I've been there 40 years ago, it was one of my favourite places in the world. It was natural, it was just gorgeous. There's one hotel in the place that I was in. Now you go and I couldn't find it. It's disappeared. It's been gobbled up by hotels and big chains and capitalism, people that But they're changing it, aren't they? They're not embracing what they're going in there to. Why they love it. Like in Thailand, they weren't looking at the beautiful statues because all the statues have fallen over. But you turn around and they're building new hotels. I think, why do you come to Thailand for the statues or for the culture when you're knocking it out? anyway, we'll see. Generation or two, we'll see what happens.
It's the same here. You know, people move here because of the forest, and then the first thing they do is they cut down the trees.
I know. Do.
Yeah.
But and they do it at home. You know, they do it at home. Chop down the lovely old oak tree that's been there, you know, for hundreds of years because they want to. Yes, bone of contention for me. What else? Is there anything else you would like to say? I could talk to you for ages, but I know you've got a class at 2 o'clock. Is there anything else that you would like to say? You do run classes here, don't you?
Yeah,
you run
we do.
apprenticeships.
Yeah, we do. We do. Yes, we do, and we're actually starting something new.
Oh, are you going to launch it now? Or is it a secret?
No, I can say something about it. Yeah, that's interesting. So, we do run the chocolate apprenticeships. People come for a month, and I teach them as much as they can take, and then they go away and ideally start a chocolate business somewhere, or do ceremony, or have a different relationship with cacao. Even if it's just that. The girls that I've got right now, there's a Hungarian and a Swiss girl, and the Swiss girl wants to bring chocolate into her yoga classes.
Okay.
So she's learning the whole thing just so that she can do that. And then the Hungarian is a chocolate taster. She's a chocolate judge.
Oh, wow.
And so she wanted to develop a different relationship with the cacao.
I bet she
knows all
doesn't
about
spit it
chocolate.
out each time, does she?
God, no, I wouldn't let her do that. I'd be underneath catching it. No, if people drop cacao, I make them go apologise to the trees.
Bless you, dear. Oh, see, I love it. This symbiotic relationship. You are nature. I mean, it's amazing. Well, you know, you're in Costa Rica in the tropics, aren't you? But yeah, no, I love that. I love that about you. You are, you know, this is you. This is you. And I'll turn the camera around in a minute so you can see we're in the jungle with the chickens. Because when the class finished last week, I don't know if we were later than usual, but the chickens went to bed. And it was a cacophony. It was just so funny because they all climbing up these trees and making such a noise, and the dogs were playing and the baby. But that's nature, isn't it? That's the way it is. I absolutely love it. We have to embrace it. So anyway, so you're doing apprenticeships.
Yeah, so I do apprenticeships, but we're also I'm a trained therapist, and so I do something called compassionate inquiry, which is Gabor Mate's work. And it's beautiful. It's talk therapy, but it's based in the body, experiences of the body. And so we're starting to do 2 week. Right now it's 2 week. It's 2 week private retreat. So somebody comes here, they stay here. They get therapy, and they get cranial, sacral, or they get reiki, or they get shin juitsu, which is a Japanese acupressure.
Yeah.
And they take on a little project. They either help us with the cacao, or help us with the cooking, or help us with the fermentation, or help us with the gardening, so that they're in the process that starts at the beginning and ends, and it's rhythmical and repetitive and healing. I mean, we did all the steps of the chocolate making last week, and it's so therapeutic.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, from being
work.
to, well, my tummy, basically. I try to just have one a day, but you know, well, I have paced myself, but I have since bought some other chocolate. Yeah.
So and also, and so we do everything by hand. Like we don't buy anything that's processed. We don't buy anything that's processed, and so everything is done by hand, and everything is slow. And so that's a new dog in the neighborhood.
Ah, that's what it is. It's checking them out.
Yeah, they just okay.
One down, two.
These guys will probably step here and get advantage. And so you hang out on the forest is a deeply healing place. And so the idea is that people can experience
Everything.
quietness. There's journaling experiences, there's yoga, there's meditation, and they spend 2 weeks just
Being that one with nature.
Yeah, and hell, this is a really safe space.
Yeah.
That's what we.
So you just do two at a time, and two at a time, and they stay here. I guess where we're on the platform, the balcony outside, and then you also run classes in making chocolate.
Yeah,
you
then
do
we
that
also do classes
twice a week.
4 times.
4 times a week.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So for people, chaos.
love it. I love
For
it.
people who are here, we do. I do a 4 times a week chocolate class. It's about 3 hours, unless there's really good questions, and then it's longer.
That goes. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think we extended it last week. We were just so inquisitive. But I just think it's incredible. You've restored my faith in chocolate. Not that I doubt it, but now I feel like I give myself permission to eat chocolate. You know, maybe not in the vast quantities that I have been. But it's as a it's like honey as well, isn't it? Honey is a medicine. You shouldn't just be pouring that on you. And all the effort and the time that goes into it is incredible, isn't it? Going into like honey, but also with the pods. Thank you. So, is there anything else you would want to say about anything?
Yeah, I'm going to say how long it takes.
Yes.
So the flower gets pollinated. It takes 6 months to make a pod before harvest, and then we harvest it, and then we ferment it. And the fermentation is between 5 and 8 days. Or I do a microbatch fermentation, so my fermentation is smaller. So my microbes go to sleep at night, and so my ferment takes longer. So my ferment is between 8 and 10 days normally. And then it dries. You've been here. It's not sunny every day, and so it can take up to 3 weeks to dry. And then making the chocolate takes about half a day, and then it's 2 days in the machine. And then it's a couple of hours pouring and tempering and wrapping. And so between the tree and the getting a chocolate bar is it's about 7.5 months.
7.5 months. It's like giving birth.
Yeah.
You know, it is. It's like, there you go. Yeah. It's like giving birth. When you're talking about her with all the breasts, you know, now she's giving birth. That's a long time, isn't it?
It is a long time.
And I think we have to respect that when we just shove it in our mouths watching something on Netflix, you know, not paying attention. So I guess that's where the ceremony or the celebration comes into, because it's respect for her.
Yeah.
And also the people that, you know, bring her to the packet, bring her to the plate, which is...
Yeah, and so when we're offering thanks and gratitude and respect to the plant, we also have to offer it to the people involved.
Yeah.
And so if we were, you know, not only the people who grow the plant, but also, or take care of it, but the people who are shoveling it around in the drying area, or the people who are putting it in the back of their truck and bringing it to the market, and all of those people, but there's so many people involved in bringing food to our mouths.
Yes.
And so before, you know, 3-4 generations ago, we probably knew most of those people.
Yes.
But now we don't. And so there's a strange disconnect between us and our food, because we don't know.
Yes.
And so when we're eating anything consciously, you know, or drinking anything consciously, you know, having that idea that, you know, we're giving, acknowledging, not even, you don't have to give thanks, you don't have to, you know, offer your firstborn child, but giving thanks to, or acknowledging that it's the elements, and then that noise is soap getting made.
I thought it was a donkey.
It's a stick plant.
Okay. If you can hear that, yeah.
And then also the people involved. And you know, when we make cacao, we add salt, and we add corn normally, and we add herbs. Ideally, the herbs are from the garden, but not always. I like to use chili from Mexico, and so when we're doing it, just acknowledging, you know, where that salt came from, who shoveled it up off the salt plain, who put it in the bag, who brought it to the market, all of those people involved. And so it's a huge conglomeration and effort to get our food to our table. And so if we acknowledge that we're part of that, and that we have a role to play in it too, then I think it gives us a different relationship to it.
I think that's such a valid point, is this symbiotic relationship, because we are nature.
Yeah.
And I think so many people these days are struggling, you know, to find answers and to become free, and it's within ourselves, isn't it? And I think the best way, if you're really looking to become free, come to a place like this, connect with nature, because they say, oh, go out for a walk and hug a tree and stuff like that, which I think is really important. But if you really immerse yourself in a place like this, you'll learn a lot. You might even find yourself, and you have lots of chocolate too.
Yeah, the girls, it's mostly women that come here.
Interesting as well.
They find they're coming for chocolate, but they actually leave with with a completely different
I'm
relationship.
sure they learn what they hadn't
Yeah.
expected to learn, which is amazing. And I love the fact that one of them is bringing the chocolate into her yoga practice or her yoga teaching, which is what is happening quite a lot in the Western world, you know, with all sorts, whether it's, you know, the drums or the bowls, the Tibetan singing bowls and the chocolate, everything's evolving because I think we are craving that spiritualness, if that's the right word, and to connect with nature. So it's kind of a good thing. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I think so too.
Thank you so much. And I'll put your details. It has been fun, hasn't it? It's not painful. So it's just a chit chat with all what's going on. I'm just going to turn the camera around here, hopefully, as I say, so that you can see where we're at. This amazing view. And so we are in the jungle, and you see, so many things.
There's a cacao tree right there.
There's a cacao. There we go. So that's a black one. Is that a habit or something?
Yeah, no, somebody ate that one.
Ate it. How come it's still on the tree? Oh, as in
She
a
doesn't
creature.
drop.
Oh, because now I'm confused. So
Every single chocolate anything you've ever eaten, somebody picked it.
oh,
It doesn't
right.
fall from the tree.
That's so you have to be right. So it never
Never.
like apples. So it will stay
No,
there.
that'll stay there until it rots.
Oh my gosh! So will not the creatures of the jungle
Yeah,
eat it?
well,
They
it was
will.
probably a
There is the
squirrel.
black one. Oh, I see. I see. So
It's going to have a hole on the other side.
right. That's what you were saying the other day. And therefore, how long can they stay on the tree for?
Oh, for ages. It depends on the weather.
Right.
Depends how quickly they rot.
Right.
Depends on how much rain there is.
And weather-wise, if I can just get this, because as we were saying earlier, people are saying we're in the rainy season in Costa Rica, but you know, because it's rained every day and a lot, and then suddenly it's really sunny, and then it rains, and it's very damp and humid. There's no seasons in Costa Rica?
Here, on the Pacific side there is.
Right.
Half the year wet, half the year dry. And so the Pacific side, the rainy season starts normally, it starts in May, it goes through to December. But the wettest months on the Pacific side are September and October. Here they're traditionally the best months.
Right.
But here there's no seasons. It's wet and it's dry all year round. And so we can have both in one
Right.
way, as you've experienced.
Yeah.
But normally our wettest time of the year is January and July.
Right, which is now, but you're saying it's not as wet as it has been.
Yeah.
It has
And
been.
our driest time of the year is normally March and September.
Okay.
And so March and September come pretty soon after January and July.
Yeah.
And so it's mixed. Climate change is really impacting the tropics, and it's getting drier overall. So
Right.
when I first came to the farm, my husband has been measuring rainfall since '86. And it used to be, when I got here, it was 3 meters of rain a year, and for the last 5 years it's been less than 1.5 meters. So it's really drying up.
And that will impact,
Oh yeah, it
everything.
impacts because it stops the mosquitoes.
of course, because mosquitoes like the damp environment.
Yeah.
So weather-wise, if you did want to come over here,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what time of year you come. I mean, you're going to get wet
Yeah,
sometime.
you're going to get wet, but it is getting drier. But
Yeah.
January and July, I don't like being here because it's normally always wet.
Okay, just wet,
I'm
wet, wet.
just done with the
Right.
rain by that time.
Yeah, yeah,
But it doesn't rain. It's unusual for it to rain all day,
yeah,
every day.
yeah,
It's
yeah. There's,
unusual.
yeah.
It's like the UK. It's like the weather in the UK in the winter.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the rain is warm here.
I was going to say it makes such a difference, and it
Yeah.
doesn't stop people doing their things.
No.
Because the other day it was raining heavily, and there's this guy, side of the road just chopping his coconuts for the next day. They just carry on with it. So
Yeah, because
it's
you
warm.
dry.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
dry, you dry out. And also the water in the ocean is warm here,
I know.
but it's warmer when it's raining because the
I
air
know.
temperature drops. It feels
I
like a bath.
know there was a couple this morning at breakfast. They wanted to go to Panama, and they said, but it's raining. I said, yeah, but there was sun, because we were there last week, and I said, but there was also sun. I said, and I was swimming, and then the rain came, and I came out, and I went back into the sea because it was warmer than coming out. But like you say, you dry like that, don't you? Within moments when the sun comes out, you're dry. So. Bless you. Thank you so much.
You're very
Yeah,
welcome.
and yes, thank you for watching. Any questions, plonk them in the thing below, the descriptions. You've been watching Wise Women Weekdays. If you like this, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share it. And I'm going to put the details if you want to come and visit Ancel in Puerto Viejo, not Viajes, but we have renamed it to Viajes, which means travel, and everybody's coming and going here. In Costa Rica, not Puerto Rico. Yeah. I'll put the details down below, but thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Okay.